We are back for another endurance race here in the World GT Championship. Get your words out, Paul. It is a Monday evening here on RaceSpotTV. I am Paul Smith. With me is Peter Mackay for the World GT Championship, brought to you by 3M and Coach Dave Academy. And it is round number 4 of the championship around the stunning, magnificent and challenging venue that is Mount Panorama in Australia. As you can see, there's the schedule on screen, the second of our endurance events here. And Peter, I mean, we were commentating on the iRacing Bathurst 12 hours just a week or two ago. Well, these drivers should have plenty of practice around here.
That's absolutely right, Paul. Yeah, no excuse for a lack of track time coming into this endurance race. But there'll be quite a few with bruising stories to tell from that 12-hour encounter. Just an hour and 45 minutes tonight, but in this context, it's a long way around this circuit as well. And keeping the car clean and tidy is going to be the key to tonight's race.
Well, that is your venue here in the map of the tracks. You can see how it has a couple of really long straights. You've got the mountain straight after turn number 1, the Conrod straight towards the end of the lap. What that map doesn't show you is the undulations and the elevation change in this venue. I mean, Peter, it is unbelievable just how steep this mountain is that these drivers race around here today.
You look at that track map, it makes it look incredibly simple, doesn't it? But it's far, far from it, and you're absolutely right. It is the undulation that makes a difference, particularly, I feel, when you're going up and over the mountain section, the twistier section, where there is some corners where there is no room for error, and if you're a little bit soft, a little bit timid, you'll lose lap time so much. This is a proper driver circuit.
Well, going into the break, they had a week break for this championship, and well, this is how the championship standings currently look at the moment. Luke McEwen then, after getting caught out in a little bit of an incident in turn 1 in race 1 last time out, is now just 15 points ahead of Josh Thompson in the standings here. Ross McFarlane, your season 10 champion, just 3 points further back. So it's very much looking like those three at the top of the standings there, Peter, that are going to be fighting for the championship.
Well, I think Spot has proven that anything can happen in this championship, and although we're getting towards the halfway point of the season, there's still a number of drivers that could mount a challenge. I mean, Jack Sedgwick, he's all the way back in 5th, but 80 points, it might sound a lot, but it's definitely not, and he's looking good for this race. He's won an endurance race before last season, remember, at Belle Isle, another circuit where you've got to keep it in between the walls.
As we head on over to our Pro-Am standings, it is Mike Horder who leads that one. A little bit of a comfortable margin, 42 points ahead, so he's got a good footing at the moment, but don't write out the rest of your field. We've got the 2 Evo SR drivers behind Paul Webster in 4th place as well for some Mortal. So that championship, again, it's relatively close, and it's looking like the first couple of drivers that could fight for that one, but as Peter rightly points out, there's a long way to go in this championship. Let's just quickly look at your amateur championship as well. Lee Berridge, what a couple of rounds he had going into the week break, Peter. He really set his stall out for that AM championship.
He did, yes, absolutely. Lee Berridge was in fine form last time out 2 weeks ago, and he'll be hoping to carry that momentum into this round here at Bathurst, because if you can have a couple of giant killing performances in there in those AM standings, you can leap up the leaderboard as well. So Lee Berridge will be wanting to consolidate that.
Yeah, but Chris Malcharek is certainly pushing him hard and keeping him honest, and Andy Archer, Lars Van Rijn and the rest, they'll be in and around, and it only takes one bad round in the AM Championship and things can quickly flip at the moment's notice. Let's have a look then at the Enduro Cup then. So this just takes into account what has happened in the endurance races, and of course it's the individual classes of cars that score in this. So it's Hutchison who leads that one for Evo SR ahead of McEwen and Josh Thompson, and then Jack Osborne in 4th place. So you can see how it mixes up the Pro and the Pro-Ams and the AMs as well in all of that. And then your Teams Championship as well that we'll have a look at here. And it's Pure Sims Esports that lead that one only by 3 points over the What's Cooking by 3M team. German Sim Racing.de by ACV, they're in 3rd place ahead of Pure Sim Sim Lab. Looking down at your Pro-Am, Century Sim Racing doing a good job in 7th place and leading Pro-Am, and they are comfortably ahead of Simmortal and Boosted Sim Sport. So that is how things stand going into this round. For those of you who maybe have never seen the World GT Championship, well, we'll discuss the different styles of racing at the moment. In fact, I don't believe that's our starting grid, Hugo, quite yet. So because that's just all AM. So we'll get your official starting grid in a few moments' time. There we go. Jack Sedgwick then on the front row of the grid with Josh Thompson. I mean, that's a formidable lineup there, the two of them. Philip Koenig then joining us and getting himself in 3rd place alongside Luke McEwen. Michael Avdoka and Chris Van Der Ness. Chris Van Der Ness, your top Pro-Am, on the 3rd row of the grid. Row for number 4, Ross McFarlane and Mark Hutchison, with David Baker and Lockie Brown in row number 5. Row 6 for Leon Penn and Mike Horner. Row 7 then for Marvin Lesmolman with Adam Volkovich, the two teammates alongside each other. Adam Watson and Paul Webster then on the 8th row of the grid with Rhys Saunders and Alex Neller in the next row. Row 10 for Pete Harrod and Andy Archer, again, two teammates. Brendan Stacey and Simon Field then row 11 with Christian Rose and Tim Perry on row number 12. Row 13, Jonathan Walker and Lee Berridge, your AM Championship leader. Jesse Payne-Wilkins, not a bad performance in qualifying to be on the next row of the grid with Lars Van Rijn. Chris Wood and Jeroen Kaiser on row number 15. Row 16 for Mark Woodhouse and Ashley Finch with Simon Neller and Adam Hedgecock on row number 17. Row 18 for Jack Belton and Tony Draper. It's the 19th row of the grid for James Whitehouse with Benjamin Gregory alongside him. Row 20 for Craig Jones and Brian Crone. Michael Blake and Robert Lundgren then on row number 21. Row 22 for Nicholas Salaputis and Toby Ward, with Bruno Canero not getting a good lap time in, starting all the way towards the back of the field. I can tell you that Eric Haag joins him on that row of the grid, along with Martin de Jong and Jack Osborne. Those 3 drivers at the back, not scoring a lap time. But Peter, an hour and 45 minutes, 2 mandatory pit stops. It certainly is going to be a real challenge for these drivers. And the question here, Peter, is do I have to press the safety car button?
Oh, you've been polishing it, you've been shining it, you've repainted it, you've sanded it, you've got it ready. Who knows? Well, if there is going to be a safety car, well, there is certainly a potential of it happening here, particularly up at the cutting where it can get a little bit tangled up. Let's hope there's none of that, but it's a Ferrari on pole position here at Bathurst. Jack Sedgwick. Well, it's something about Jack Sedgwick and endurance races on very difficult circuits. Is that his niche within a niche?
It's row number 2, the Lamborghini and Audi. You know, those two are going to be there or thereabouts, and we've seen how the endurance races can really mix things up. Your Porsche safety car will pull off to the left-hand side, and then we're under the control of Jack Sedgwick. Pole position for the What's Cooking by 3M team, and away they go across the line. Green flag in the air for 1 hour and 45 minutes of action here in the World GT Championship. Down towards Hell Corner for the first time. Does everybody make it around there safely? So far so good. You see all the field. Look at this field, just keeps on coming around turn number 1 as the drivers head up Mountain Straight for the first time. Just this grid, it always never ceases to amaze me just how big this grid is and how they're able to get going. Now, I can tell you Josh Thompson did lose 3 places then at the start. Philip Koenig, Luke McEwen and Michael Avdoka all making their way past him, but this is going up to the danger zone. This is the real zone where things could happen into the cutting and all over the top of the mountain here so far. But Peter, it's looking promising so far.
You weren't wanting to say it there, weren't you? But just look at that great shot from our producer Hugo Luis. It just shows you how the top drivers there up the front of the field, they're running it right to the paint, whereas the further down the field you go, the more the room for error there is. But it's Jack Sedgwick who leads then in the turbocharged Ferrari. I wonder what held Josh Thompson up. Maybe just didn't quite get through Hill Corner as he wanted to, but did get swamped a little bit there. And you know, Luke McEwen, he won't want to let Sedgwick get away and get into his rhythm. One driver to look out for today, Lockie Brown. He's got a huge amount of local knowledge here, very fast in a V8 supercar, knows this place very, very well.
As we go along down the Conrod Straight for the first time, and unbelievably, you see the cars turning off right here through into the chase. Years ago, they used to just carry on going straight down the Conrod Straight down to Murray's Corner, so that is incredible. Oh, look, McEwen forced off the track there on the exit of the chase. Big moment for him, but he saves it. And the Logitech Gialtas esports driver carries on and is straight away on the attack.
Well, Luke McEwen, he had to be very much on the recovery there coming out of the chase as well. And this is not the ideal start to the race for the championship leader. His pace throughout this championship has been absolutely blistering. But yeah, you need to execute on race day, and he will not like that, seeing his championship rivals heading up the mountain straight ahead of him after that. We don't quite see how he managed to run wide there, but maybe he was given a little bit of help. We shall see. Already, Jack Sedgwick's opened up a 1.7 second advantage after just a lap and a bit. Fantastic.
And incredibly, it's Josh Thompson who's made his way up into second place. After losing the time at the start, big moment there out of the cutting there, but still keeping it going. We've only had, I think, only one driver actually have an issue out there, which was Nick Salaputis. He's all the way down to the back, and Lee Berridge has actually been through pit road, so I suspect that he's used up his fast repair in all of this. There's the replay then, and just a little bit of a rub. It was a squeeze. I mean, to be fair to Philip Koenig, not a lot he could do there.
No, absolutely. That's the kind of ramifications of running really tight, but the chase is that kind of corner. I mean, we saw it, didn't we, Paul, in the Bathurst 12 hour a couple of weeks ago in the top split. Joshua Rogers and Max Verstappen having a fairly similar little clash there actually as well. So not the same, before everyone jumps into the YouTube comments, because I have to say I've never seen an incident in an iRacing competition spark such debate in the RaceSpotTV comment section.
You've obviously never been around when I've given a hot take on commentary, but there you go. So go along and through for another lap then. So yeah, certainly it's been a good clean start though. That's the main thing. We've got to keep it like this. Let's have a good zero safety car race would be ideal, but we're already towards the 5-minute mark of this one gone. Bradley Hull's unfortunately missing tonight. He's watching on the live stream, so it's a shame to not have him around, but he's supporting his teammates.
That's what we like to see. Yeah, good to hear from you, Bradley. Good to have you watching. Hope to see you back out on track very soon. Well, Sedgwick, his gap is still sitting around 1.7, 1.8 seconds, but he's taken fastest lap of the race, and I think critically, Paul, as well, he's done that without the draft. The draft can make a huge amount of difference here. The long drag up Mountain Straight, and then of course the absolute helter-skelter, flat-out run down Conrod Straight, or I wish maybe the one day they'll call it unofficially the Cleland Straight. Was that not where the floor came out of his car and he made himself very famous on Australian television?
I mean, I remember John Cleland being upside down on the exit of the chase as well at one time, but that's another story for another day. Here's Adam Watson giving us a great insight into how he's getting along. 13th place at the moment, trying to catch up to Adam Volkovich in front. And for the time being, just staying as they are. But this opening part of the race here, Peter, I think it's very much a case of get yourself into a rhythm, isn't it? Try and find yourself a dance partner to go along, and then just keep on going as Leon Penn down the inside, and that's going to be a gain of position over Lockie Brown. But yeah, it is very much find yourself a dance partner and just get into a rhythm.
This is definitely a rhythm circuit. There is just nothing more satisfying when you get, particularly in a GT3 car, when you just get it hooked up and you can hit your marks, the car's doing what you want it to do. And yes, the only thing, as you rightly say, you kind of need in an endurance race format, you need cars around you that are a similar pace. You don't want to be getting too much hassle from behind. You don't want to be overdriving, trying to keep up with the car in front, or even worse, being held up by the car in front. Because actually there are, through certain parts of the circuit, there are quite literally no passing places. It's one line through a lot of the mountain areas. So yeah, that just letting everything settle in early on is really, really important, but not always easy to find.
And we're getting some more of our shots here as Marvin Lesmorman giving us again enough of unique insight into his setup, and really just look at it, there's no emotion on that face, it's just concentration, it's focus as you go around here, and you can see from this shot just how fast they're carrying speed through those corners, how close they're getting to those walls as well. It's always a fantastic feeling when you hook up a lap around this track. I've been fortunate enough to actually have 1 or 2 laps actually hook up and work for me. But when you get that lap right, there's no better feeling. It's a real driver's track.
Oh, quite right. Yeah, it is. I think that's why, for me, the most exciting spectacle in the motor racing year, full stop, is the Bathurst 1000 Top 10 shootout. When you see these, when these drivers over they get a warm-up lap and 1 hot lap, and that's it. In one of these, 1.5 ton. Paul, I don't like that sound. We've
got a yellow flag out on track at the Dipper. I believe it was Brian Canaro, but he has got back up and running. He's further down the order, and there you see him, Bruno Canaro, sorry. And the 3M car having issues out there, but back up and running though. So fortunately, still in the race, but. It only takes one little mistake, and before you know it, you get a big stack up, and the drivers have got very little space to go around that top of the mountain.
Well, indeed, we saw that again in the Bathurst 12 Hour with some of the top drivers in the sim racing world spinning there in exactly that way. And interestingly, majority of the time it was the mid-engine cars that were coming a cropper there. Quite a few McLarens having a spin there as well, Audis too. That mid-engine, slightly short wheelbase as well can make the cars quite twitchy through there as well. So yeah, and of course if you do spin, like you say, it covers up a huge amount of the track, and you're often very lucky to get through there unscathed. That's almost a little bit of the Russian roulette of going over the mountain each and every time here at Bathurst.
As we ride on board with Mike Horder then, the current Pro-Am Championship leader, 14th place in this race. He's not the top placed Pro-Am driver, that's Chris van der Ness at the moment. Your top Am driver out of all of this is actually Andy Archer, who's in 21st. So we've got a good mix of the different classes of drivers, and you do find that tracks like this, or the Nürburgring Nordschleife for example as well, you do seem to find drivers that just specialise in these tracks and really come to the fore, and it doesn't matter what their I rating is, or the rating in the series for example, like this, they just seem to find that edge over a lot of their competitors.
100%, you're absolutely right. I mean, I mentioned Lockie Brown at the top of the show for that reason. He's in 11th overall right now. If I'm not mistaken, this is certainly his first race of this season. I don't know if he's been in the World GT Championship before, but yeah, Lockie's definitely I would say a Bathurst specialist. I don't mean that to be unkind about the rest of his driving, because he's a very good driver in lots of other circuits, but definitely Bathurst is where he brings out his best stuff. I love that blue sparkle seat that Marvin Lefland's got.
Yes,
well gel, as they say.
I mean, the problem is, and anybody who's met me would realise I don't have a Sparko or Recaro backside, so I struggle with those bucket seats.
Neither do I.
I once...
We're more Volvo V70 backside, I think.
I was once marshalling on a rally in North Yorkshire Forest, and one of the guys asked me to pick up the equipment, and he goes, "I'll just jump in. You can sit in. I'll drive you to your post." And it was a Sparco bucket seat, and it took me about a good 2 minutes to actually get back out of the car afterwards. You needed a shoe on to get me out into that in the first place.
Honestly, when I had a Lotus for a year, and you would pull up somewhere, and it was yellow and loud and had big wings on it, and you'd have people stop and stare and go, "Wow, look at that car." And then I would get out of it, and they quickly go from the point wow to the point and laugh. Like, look at that man, that balding. It's like the guy with the receding hairline falling sideways out of this Lotus.
Well, there's no Lotuses on the grid, thankfully, in this, so I would have been a little tight. Anyway, as we go down the Conrod Straight once again, Mike Horder putting the pressure on here at the moment on Adam Watson. So that's the battle over 13th and 14th places. And look at that, look at the effect the slipstream has. Now, is that a case of Horder just backing off and realising, I can do a little bit of fuel saving here? Or was he thinking that's not quite close enough to make the move into the chase?
Well, that's the tricky one to find out, and that comes back to our point about having the right dancing partner. If you've got a dancing partner that you can run the pace and run a pace that you're looking at your lap counter and you're saying, right, that's exactly the lap time where I want to be, but you're also being able to do that using a lighter amount of throttle, that makes a big difference. It's Alex Neller taking a very early look to pit road. Now, Paul, I'm not sure if he can get home with just the two mandatory pit stops from here.
It's going to be tight, yeah. I think that's more of a pit stop out of necessity. I think he maybe had a little bit of damage. Now, fortunately, in this series, if you are new to this series, welcome along. I hope you enjoy the show here today. But you do get one free repair per race here, so that's just where as soon as you pull up into your pit box, it instantaneously fixes your car. You only get the one, mind, so if you've used it in the first 14 minutes of the race here, Peter, you've then got to drive the rest of it on edge, especially over the top of the mountain where you get so close to the walls.
And we saw it, I mean, the brilliant Dougie Beard camera angle that Hugo caught for us at the very start of the race. Just watching those cars coming through gave you a perfect snapshot into what it takes to be one of the fastest drivers over the mountain and someone further down the field. We saw the very top of the field leaving, a pencil shavings worth between the edge of the bodywork and the wall. Whereas the guys further down the road, understandably, are leaving maybe 6 inches, 8 inches. That's just lap time. That distance is just pure lap time, and that is the thing. So if you've already used your fast repair, you're having to effectively drive in the middle of the road. Not quite, I'm exaggerating, of course, but that definitely makes a very long day. But for sure, of any endurance race this season, I would think we'll see the most amount of fast repairs used up.
You could actually see that from the current view that we've got with Adam Hedgecock. James Whitehouse in front was actually giving a wide berth to the walls down through the S's into the dipper, and he had a look there, did Whitehouse, thinking of a move, but decides not to go. We've got a yellow flag out of this next corner, which is Murray's corner, and that is Simon Field, the Boosted Motorsport driver, facing the wrong way. Don't go too far down the wrong way down the track, or else you'll get yourself a penalty. But no, back up and running, and he'll try and find himself a gap to slot into here.
And using the grasses for a flick turn, that's very clever as well. Very, very in lots of ingenuity there from Simon Field. As the EOS R train running up through the mountain, led by Chris Van Den Ness. He's getting a replay there of Simon Field coming out of Murray's. So what do the beautiful sunny climes of Bathurst have with the barren outlay of Snetterton? What do those two circuits have in common? The last corner is called Murray's.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't want to make make anything against Chris, but Chris van der Ness here in 7th place has got a bit of I described this yesterday, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, as a bit of a bank holiday queue of traffic. It's like he's towing a caravan, he's looking forward, the road's empty, and going, well, there's no traffic out here, and you look behind, there's just an absolute queue of cars behind, but he's doing a really good job. He's placing his car in the right position out there on track, and at the moment, David Baker, the good doctor himself, just cannot find a place to get past.
Well, and the thing is, for Chris van der Ness, he's got an ally behind David Baker, and also in an Evo SR Ferrari, those wonderful black and green machines. Mark Hutchison, of course, who's doing very well in this Endurance Cup at the moment, so running with a teammate close by to you who you can communicate with by voice if you wish to, really helpful as well. So for David Baker, he's definitely in the Evo SR sandwich, or the I just can't help it when you look at those wonderful black and green machines. All I think of is the Tequila Patron Ferraris of days gone by.
Oh, we love it. Oh, there's a move from Hutchinson down the inside into... Well, that's not always the best move to make into quarry, but he is making a move. And we've got a yellow flag at the cutting. And that is Philip Koenig. So that's one of your new drivers. He's taken over from Anderuti. Oh, careful now. Hopefully he can get that moving. Oh, that's some awful car. Paul Webster had to get on the anchors and turn sharpish, and away he goes. He's got damage to his rear wing. He's going to be an absolute... That car is going to be a pig over the top of the mountain now.
Yeah, this is survival mode now for Philip Koenig. He's got to really do not try and bite too much off here. And now, did he get a help from Luke McEwen? I can't really tell definitively from that angle, but he may well have done. Oh dear me. So we're all going to look at it, but
it was difficult to see, wasn't it? We didn't have that shot. We need, ideally, what we'd have is, and I'm sure Hugo's busy queuing it up right now, is a shot from on board of Luke McEwen's car, just to see if it was just the slightest of trying to take a nose down the inside into the cutting. I mean, I was going to point out that McEwen had moved up into 3rd place, but unfortunately, the cost of Philip Koenig. And the question is, does Koenig then take to pit road? Here we go. This is from above. Oh, that's a late move there, Luke. It's a difficult one to call that, though, isn't it?
Oh,
I don't like to be a steward in that situation. Koenig's staying out.
That's a bizarre decision. Well, I mean, the car must feel fine. And that normally with that rear wing damage.
There's smoke at the back. There was a car off at the background. Sorry, Peter.
No.
I just saw tyre smoke, and it's Jonathan Walker. Well, the series sponsor, Jonathan from 3M, just can't seem to get any luck so far this season, can he? He seems to be... Every week we seem to look at him, and he's facing the wrong way or been involved in some sort of incident, unfortunately.
But you can guarantee that he's the most stylish man on the grid, because he's wearing 3M motor racing clothing from head to toe. I bet you he's got the sim racing gloves on right now.
Well, there he is. He's at the wheel, and if we stay on board and stay on this view, we can't quite see his hands, unfortunately, but I must admit, no, he's barehanded. He's not racing with his own gloves on.
He's going for cool guy, no gloves. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, maybe it's... do you know what? Because not only is 3M racing equipment breathable and fits so well, it's also washable as well. Doesn't it? So maybe they're in the wash. He's been practicing hard all week, so his 3M gloves are in the wash, possibly.
What I can tell you is actually there's been some movement. Chris van der Ness has finally lost that position, so David Baker is up to his usual 6th place. He's noted for to get into 6th place and finish in 6th place. So he's up there in 6th. Matt Hutchinson also made it past, and Leon Penn just there into the chase, making it past Chris van der Ness. So the defences have been breached for Chris, as there's more battling. Adam Volkovich, I think, making moves there. and that was on Adam Watson. So those two battling it out, and Mike Horder's now trying to get involved in all of this into Hell Corner. But one thing I was going to mention was 3M recently announced a partnership with the Apex Racing Team. So Apex Racing Team getting a partnership with 3M. I'm sure they'll be getting some useful equipment from 3M.
They will, yeah, and that lovely white and blue colour scheme as well. It will 3M can make the well, basically any of their equipment in more or less any colour you like within reason. So you can get them made in your sim racing team's colour, or indeed your real world racing team colour if you're so equipped. But a lot of the British touring car grid trust 3M equipment. So yeah, very good. And of course, yeah, Apex Racing Team on a bit of a roll, aren't they? Peter Berman winning the Lara Grand Prix Championship in a very tight battle with Martin van Loozenhoorn.
And also, don't forget that Kevin Ellis Jr. won the feature race in the Porsche Taycan Esports Super Cup on the weekend. You also had Pete Berman, win the second race of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain yesterday as well. That I commentated on both of them, so there must be something with good luck from me commentating on him. But certainly a good weekend for the Apex Racing Team, but unfortunately they're not in this race. But Indy Autosport Red, Lockie Brown is, and he's making moves on Chris van der Ness into the chase. Van der Ness is going to fight this one though, and down into the left-hander. Has to give that one up in the end there. Just didn't quite work out for Chris, and he just seems to be he needs to get back in that rhythm. I think he's just fallen out of that rhythm, and some drivers are getting past. As Leon Penn, we have it confirmed, has lost connection to the server, and that means that he has dropped out of that battle in the top 10.
That's a pity, but I have to say that was a super move there from Lockie Brown, fitting it around the outside of the chase. I'm sure that was a well-rehearsed and practiced move. But Mark Hutchison, the leader in the Endurance Cup, he's up to 7th position, leader in the Pro-Am class. Now, if you're thinking, how do we know the classes? If you look at our time tower on the left-hand side of your screen, there's a green number. They are in the Pro class. A yellow number, they are in the Pro-Am, and if it's a sort of purpley blue, it is the Am class.
Very nicely explained. Save me a job there, Peter. It's almost like you're a commentator.
I shouldn't be sitting on your knee in the lead commentary. I should be staying in my colour commentary position.
Well, no, it fitted perfectly because you weren't giving the colours of the positions anyway, as a colour commentator. Thank you very much. I'm here all week to try the veal. Andy Archer is your top Am driver still, by the way, in 20th place. In your standings. He's only actually a couple of positions ahead of the next placed Am driver, which is Lars van Rijn. But there's about 5 seconds between those two at the moment. There you see that Century Sim Racing driver on screen, and they've had a good start to the season in terms of the Teams Championship as well. In the Pro-Am Teams Championship, they've got a good lineup of drivers, and Pete Harrod, what an addition. Okay, he's in 17th place at the moment, is Pete, Century Sim Racing. But he's been a real boon for them, getting them some really good points.
Absolutely, and it's interesting when you see how at the addition of a new driver or a new talent joining an outfit, it's amazing what kind of galvanising effect that can have across the whole outfit as well. As you see that with a lot of teams, if they make a new signing, and it can cause a real positive effect as well. And I think that's definitely been an effect with Century. They've really raised up to another level from an already high base. So it's brilliant to see them running so well in their Lamborghini Hurricanes. But out front, well, it's not a Lamborghini, it's a Ferrari. For the first time we can say that this season. Jack Sedgwick leading confidently, now up to 2.7 seconds advantage. Meanwhile, in second position, Josh Thompson has got his mirrors full of Luke McEwen's Lamborghini. There you go, that's your gap for second, virtually nothing.
Well, I can tell you that Luke, he has been pushing on. Remember, he had that error that incident down at the Chase on the first lap of the race. You see how close Josh Thompson was getting across to that wall, and Luke McEwen over the curb now on the exit there of McPhillamy Park. That curb is a high curb and it can unsettle your car, so obviously Luke has got this car set up nicely that it can cope with the bumps and with the high curbs and be able to ride that and extract every millimetre out of this track, out of Forest Elbow, down the Conrod Straight once again. And McEwen certainly putting the pressure on Josh Thompson. And Thompson, okay, didn't have the best of days on Saturday. Yesterday had a sort of steady away day and got himself some good points for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. So he'll be feeling a little bit more confident with his racing, but Luke McEwen certainly is a fighting driver. Getting asked a question in the chat, by the way, is Luke not getting a penalty? In this series, they have a team of stewards who look at everything post-race. So there's no live stewarding during the race. Then afterwards, if somebody is found to be guilty of an incident, they can get points on their series license. So effectively, each driver has a license, and after so many points, you end up with a qualifying ban. After so many more points, you end up having to start races from pit lane, and Josh Thompson rather facilitated that move from Luke McEwen.
Interesting move there from Josh Thompson. We've seen Josh play the strategical game, I would say, pretty well so far this season. He just missed out to Luke McEwen in more of just a straight dogfight at Daytona, but he's really maximised his opportunities so far this season, and that is why he's just such a slender margin off the championship lead, held by Luke McEwen at the moment by just 15 points. But it's interesting watching that on board with Luke McEwen, incredibly revealing. I mean, my brain could barely keep up with that speed over the top of the mountain from both drivers. But you make a great point, Paul, about that Lamborghini. It's got a wonderful balance. Of course, that mid-engine balance it has some drawbacks, but a lot of benefit as well. And that Lamborghini, it just corners so flat, and it's so good in medium to high-speed corners. And, well, right over the mountain, that's exactly what you want.
Jesse Wilkins, Craig Jones, Brian Crone and Michael Blake have all headed down to pit road this time, so they have decided to take their first pit stop. Here's Jack Belton. Now what's happened to Joel? He's touched the grass! Around he goes! Does he find a wall? Has he missed all the walls there, Peter?
I think he's maybe missed the cars that are coming through as well, and this is Austin Powers-esque, trying to get the car turned back around in time, which looks like he's about to do, and big damage to the front right of that Audi R8, so he'll need to bring that car down to pit road, I think, for the fast repair, unless he's got away with it. Very, very lucky, but fast accident there. And it just shows you, Paul, I was thinking, okay, where's the crash coming, and then whoosh, there it was. You just put a fraction of that tyre, you just creep over the edge. We don't talk about track limits very much at Bathurst, and that's why.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very much a case of if you breach track limits, it's generally because you're in a wall somewhere. So that's what you find. That's one of the true challenges of this circuit, because at the end of the day, this is a road. This is a closed road. Is this? You've got people's driveways literally coming onto the side of the track, up all over through the mountains. So you know, it's iRacing, of course, with their scan of this venue, even getting people's mailboxes all on the side of the track there as well. So yeah, it is a public road, is this normally, but a few times a year they close it off and set up a motor race. There is talk, isn't there, Peter, of them wanting to build a permanent racetrack elsewhere in the Bathurst area as well.
Brave person to suggest that.
As well as this Mount Panorama circuit.
Yes, even so. I think that there's certain things that, I mean, forgive me for sounding a little bit backwards, but there's certain things we should be fully focused on preservation rather than anything else. And I think Bathurst is or Mount Panorama Circuit is a perfect example of that. I mean, they don't anymore, but can you imagine the days when they used to race motorcycles around here?
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, they wouldn't be getting rid of this circuit, by the way, with that plan.
No, of course not.
They'll be keeping this circuit and keeping it for the 1000 and for the 12-hour and all the different events that happen here. But it would also give them another venue to have permanent motorsport going year-round, and have another venue in the area, and it would certainly be a bit of a boon for the economy in that local area. We were looking at on board with Adam Watson there. I can tell you we've had a few retirements from this race so far. So we've lost Bruno Canero. He gave up the ghost after 4 laps, unfortunately. Leon Penn, who had his connection issue. Brian Crone and Michael Blake. Now, they only just came out of pits about 2.5 minutes ago. They're out in the race. They're done. They've both disconnected. So something might have happened there between those two. Simon Nella and also Mark de Jong are currently down on pit road getting some repairs. So obviously some issues out there further down your order. Not had many pit stops so far in this race, Peter. Of the cars still running, just 5 that have actually headed down pit road.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's going for the maybe slightly later strategy, running this first stint quite long and then taking the race from there. But lap time's looking pretty strong at the moment at the front of the field. Luke McEwen's right on his ultimate pace, as is Josh Thompson, both 2:02.7s last time by. 2:30 for Sedgwick. I say that in an ominous voice. I don't know why, because 2:30 is not slow at all. It just shows you that McEwen and Thompson, they are pushing. There's no dilly-dallying around there whatsoever. So Sedgwick, yeah, well, he's got the fastest lap of the race in his pocket at the moment, but maybe McEwen and Thompson might have something to say in the not too distant future. Adam Watson, he looks stressed behind this wheel. He looks he looks busy behind the wheel of that Porsche.
He certainly does. I can tell you, Lockie Brown has actually moved himself up into 7th place now. Mark Hutchinson losing that place, so change of position for him. Adam Volkovich, Chris van der Ness and Adam Watson, you're seeing them on screen right now. We're on board with Adam, and just behind you've got Rhys Saunders, who's actually gained a place over Mike Horder. How do you feel? Your top positions gained so far. The man who started right at the back of the field, Jack Osborne, 15 places gained in this race so far, down in 33rd place. But really, this is going to be race of attrition, and get yourself to the end, and you should get yourself some good points. As we've got another boosted car, but this is one of the boosted SimSpot cars, Lars van Rijn. He's facing a perpendicular angle on the exit of Murray's.
That's the Vimto edition of the wonderful boosted liveries. Vimto are a big sponsor in motorcycle racing in British Superbike Championship around the turn of millennium, and Paul Bird actually got that sponsor. Oh, you can just see, just touches a wheel on the top of the curb. Very easy to do. We've seen it more than once, even in this race. But yes, he actually painted his trucks and bikes up in Vimto colours before actually getting the deal, and he turned up with the trucks and the bikes and said, you know, I've not got a PowerPoint presentation, but what do you think? And they're like, oh, we like that. Yeah, sounds good. How much? He's like, well, about this. And he's like, that sounds good. Excellent. Let's do it.
I mean, I've encountered Paul Bird in rallying, so I know what he's capable of behind the wheel. And he used to have a very nice Ford Focus World Rally car that he used to do the BTRDA Championship in. I won't tell you what all the drivers call that championship with that acronym, but anyway, that's a story for off stream. Adam Watson has found himself up into 10th place now, got ahead of Chris van der Ness, and Rhys Saunders and Mike Horder right behind now, putting the pressure on I have one request of Reese, and if he does watch this back, or if Bradley Hulse is still watching this, can he sort out his numbers so they're not white on a white background? That'd be great, thank you. It really help us out in the commentary box here to be able to see the number on the car.
Yes, I found that actually on trading paints using the. I thought I'll run since Wright Motorsports won the Rolex 24 at Daytona. I thought I'll run the first form blue Wright Motorsport livery on my Porsche for a while, and the only problem is though is that of course the Wright Motorsport number is 16, so it's just got 16s all over it, even if your number's not 16. So it does look a bit silly. Good way of doing something naughty, and they say, "Oh, it was the 16." Going, yeah, it was.
As they come plunging down, this is the steepest point of the track, right there at the dipper. It's a 1 in 6.9 drop. Is that so? The way of thinking about that is for every 6.9 feet forward, you drop 1 foot in height. So it's a very steep part of the track there. Is the dipper, and it is incredible. And I said this in the Bathurst 12 hours coverage, of course. It is incredible that these cars can cope with that particular part of the track.
The one thing that boggles my mind is that is it going to move there for Reese? I just can't quite get past Chris Van Den Est there as well. And Mike Horton on the 42 Lamborghini says, I might have a bit of this as well. And quickly Reese Saunders goes to the defensive line in the year 1 custom-made flip-flops machine. Now, here's a bit of trivia. I actually don't know the answer to this. Do you know the answer to this, Paul? Which is steeper, the Dipper or the Corkscrew at Laguna? I actually have no idea the answer to that.
I know that the Corkscrew is the equivalent, the drop is equivalent of going down a 4-story building. I know that. But I don't know if it's the actual, the incline is greater or not. But it's certainly a bigger drop.
At the risk of sounding like a YouTube influencer who make me mildly nauseous at times, let us know what you think in the comments.
Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and smash that bell as well to be notified for all of our broadcasts. Marvin Lee Smellman is on to pit road for his scheduled pit stop. I can also tell you there was a yellow flag just past behind where Marvin was on pit road, because Simon Field had an upper off at the final corner, so he's not finding it very enjoyable. Murray's Corner is Simon, but away goes Marvin. So he's the first of our drivers from that sort of top half of the field that has made a pit stop, and that was 23 seconds was that pit stop on the box. So that's our first indication, is it, Peter, of how things are going to go?
Yeah, it seems so. And interesting one, because Marvin, I would say he's maybe a little bit out of position. I would expect him maybe to be a little bit upper the sharp end, considering the pace that we've seen on him so far. Now, Johnny Walker's come into pit lane here, not for fuel and tyres. Well, he might get that while he's here. He's actually gone to go and make sure that he's back on brand again. He's gone to go and get his 3M equipment out of the washing machine, which of course is dried instantly with the space age fabric it's made from. So, you know, I'm sure he'll have that back on now. So there he goes. He's back going again. I'll tell you what. Whoever painted that car, get top marks. I like this design.
I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Knight Rider Designs, Jake Blackhall. He's one of the drivers from Pure Sims, and he does a lot of paint jobs with Knight Rider Designs. His sort of name for liveries, so do check them out, because he does some sensational liveries. Did the liveries for the Supercars E-Series as well.
Oh, wow.
Did Jake for a lot of the teams. I don't know if it was all of them, but I know for a lot of the grid he did the paints for that. So he's a talented man, and certainly he finds himself in some situations in our Touring Car Series. The World Touring Car Series, of course, Peter, Thursday nights, a sister series to this championship. And certainly that, if this is ballet, then the World Touring Car Series is very much boxing, isn't it?
Yes, it's boxing and rugby league all mixed into one. Yeah, it's it's pretty fractious stuff. But I tell you, I really enjoyed the. We had the first of I think 2, possibly 3 feature events, 2 feature events last week, which was really interesting stuff to watch that. Interlagos, but myself and Nolan Rempel will have the action for that on Thursday as our leaders are on to pit lane. Luke McEwen and Josh Thompson, and indeed race leader Jack Sedgwick.
Right then. So we've got three different makes here. So we've got Ferrari, we've got Lamborghini, and we've got BMW. Now Jack Sedgwick has been forging a path at the front all on his own. So he's been very much in clean air and not having the advantage of any slipstream. There you see one of the benefits of running in the sim means that you can have shared pit stalls here, so that's why you're seeing those cars sort of merge into each other.
Do my eyes deceive me? Is Josh Thompson taking tyres?
No, he's still there on track. He's still on the ground.
Okay.
Well, there goes
my eyes are
Sedgwick.
deceiving me.
McEwen's going next, and away he goes, and there goes Thompson not that far behind him. So Sedgwick was about 22.5 seconds, McEwen and Thompson nearly 30 seconds each, so they're going for the really long stop early on here, and then a splash and dash towards the end, it seems.
Yeah, that's interesting. You do have that. You basically have 2 pit stops in effect to serve. One short one long one in effect, and yes, it seems like they've decided to fill up, and now that the field's sort of spread out a little bit, that's a pretty good shout, I would say. But Jack Sedgwick, he's back into the race in the lead. He's maintained that lead that he took into the pit stops. But as you mentioned, the pit stop times is still a little bit of disparity.
Well, he's got the effective lead, hasn't he? Because there are quite a few cars still to come onto pit road, of course. He's got 13 cars in front of him, but they all owe us their first pit stop yet. Now, Michael Evdoka, Ross McFarlane, David Baker, they're all up at the front of the field, and they're actually catching up to some back markers, so it might be an idea for them to maybe change strategy up a little bit. Get in, serve your pit stop, find yourself a little bit of a gap, and just make the most of it whilst you can, because as soon as you start getting involved with the back markers, here's not too bad, but when you get in onto the top of the mountain, that's where you can really lose a ton of time.
Indeed so, yeah. I mean, it's I think that's why it's quite a good thing with the Bathurst 12 Hours of GT3 race now only, because if you ever get, when in the past we've had occasionally had GT4s and Porsche Cups and things like that, it does get very messy. So with GT3 cars, definitely all GT3 certainly helps. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Paul. If you get caught up behind someone who's a second or so slower than you over the mountain, I think maybe even I could keep somebody like Craig Lowndes or Jamie Wink up behind me over the mountain, at least temporarily until they put me in the wall. But yeah, it is that narrow in certain places.
I can remember years ago I competed in a Bathurst 12 Hours that was held by one of the Australian community. They went and hosted the event, and I was invited to race in the venerable Kia, which was the touring car option for that race, because of course we didn't have the TCRs back then, and I was racing for the Evolution Racing team. In that one, I think it was Blake. If my memory serves me correct, it was Jake Blackhall and Blake Neck. I think it was the teammates for that. And I got hit by Shane van Gisbergen over the top of the mountain because he was quicker and he didn't take into account, one, that I was a POM on an Australian server, so my ping was slightly higher, and two, I was in a Kia which understeered like mad over the top of the mountain, and he was in a GT3 car, as here comes Michael Evdoka onto pit road now.
What a claim to fame, though. You go, I got put in the wall by Shane van Gisbergen. That's pretty cool. If you're going to get put in the wall by anyone, it might as well be Shane van Gisbergen. Yeah, let's see where Michael Udoka is going to come back out into this in the Pure Sims Lamborghini. The Pure Sims outfit really, they've got a huge amount of mileage and data with this car. They've stuck to their guns. You know, some other outfits they'll basically chase whichever car is deemed to be top of the pile in GT3 at any given point. But Pure Sims have stayed pretty loyal to that Lamborghini, and that does pay benefit over time.
We've got a veritable pit party going on right now, and we must have at least a dozen cars on pit road right now, getting their first pit stops. There goes Michael Udoka out of pit road, and where's that going to put him? It puts him right in front of David Baker, and also I believe Christian Rose is in there somewhere, perhaps. Ross McFarlane is behind Dave, and Baker actually only took a 22.5-second pit stop, whereas Udoka 32.6. So different strategies even in the Pure Sims outfits. Pure Sims SimLab driver David Baker in 9th place, and he's going for that little bit of a change in strategy.
It's interesting, you do forget, of course, that the SimLab car is in the Pure Sims stable, albeit running in different colours. Yeah, this is interesting stuff. How many times have we said this in a World GT Championship endurance race, particularly? Saying, oh yeah, Ross McFarlane, he's having a pretty quiet night of things to start with, but mark my words, in 57 minutes time he'll be up there in the big points playing places, and that's how he's won championships. That is why he is the defending champion of this World GT Championship. And Paul, please do correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've ever seen a field of this sheer quality and depth ever in this championship. It's always been good, but this year is particularly strong, and Ross is still keeping himself up in the fight for that championship.
Oh, definitely. I think this is the strongest field that we've had in this championship to date. I mean, you don't get a championship to 11 seasons without doing something right. So, and to attract World Championship drivers into the series shows that you're doing something good. We've got the final pitters onto pit road. Matt Hutchinson, Chris van der Ness, the two teammates from Evo SR, they're onto pit road, as is Pete Harrod as well. So they were able to go 23 laps on their fuel and get that extra lap. And that extra lap at the end of the race, that could be the difference for somebody out there.
Yeah, and we're talking about really fine margins as well in terms of the lap times. I mean, Sedgwick last time by 203.5, McEwen 203.6, Josh Thompson 203.4, 204.0 for Alex Neller, 203.5 for Adam Watson. So Adam Watson going as quick as the leaders as well. So we're talking seriously tiny margins in between all of these top drivers. So any strategical benefit you can get, it's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, the margins are so tight in this championship, and of course one of the beauties of this championship is the fact that you do have the multiple classes of cars, of drivers should I say. You have your pros, you have your pro-ams, and you have your ams, all fighting for their own championship, which means that all the way down the grid, doesn't matter where you are, you're still fighting for a championship, and it's a really good way of keeping those drivers engaged in the championship and keep on fighting on. And I've always said this on broadcasts, you only get better by testing yourself against some of the best people in the world. You may get humiliated by them the first few times, but as time goes on and you sort of you keep an eye on what they're doing and what you're doing, and you learn a thing or two from some of those faster drivers, you start picking up that pace yourself and you improve yourself. You've always got to test yourself against the best.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, I think that's if you look in the outdoor real life racing, and the SRO organisation who run the Bathurst 12 Hour is one of the key stops on the Intercontinental GT Challenge. And you look at some of those events, it's not all absolute pro factory drivers. There are amateur drivers in that mix, and they are graded accordingly and are put into a class accordingly as well. Now, at the end of the day, the Spa 24 Hour would not have, 60 or 70 cars or whatever they get, all GT3 cars. We're talking, kicking on for €1 million race cars now in the context of GT3, plus your running costs. I mean, you're talking huge money. So to have that many of them turning up, there just aren't that many teams in the world that can pay pro drivers to go in there. So if you can have 3 or 4 races going on in one, then hey presto, you've got a big event on your hands, and that is and that's pretty much mirrors what we see here in World GT. Because if it was just for World Championship drivers or for absolute top pro level, then we would not have the grid size we do.
Oh, the boosted car's trying to get out the way at the cutting.
Did well.
It's not the easiest place to give way, I must say, because it's very easy to get on the marbles there offline, and you end up in the wall. Jonathan Walker, he has retired from the race, and he's just said rest in peace to his car in the chat. I will say, I'm just going to throw this out there. I think it's because you went barehanded. You want to get some 3M Sim 21 gloves and a race with them. They'll give you some excellent grip on your steering wheel. You should try that out.
And if you can keep in between when you're maybe under caution periods, or if you're in a particularly long pit stop, or you're waiting for the session to load in, you needn't even take your 3M sim racing gloves off, because the special material on the fingertips, you can text and work a smartphone touchscreen, while you don't even have to take your gloves off to text one of your many girlfriends.
Hang on a second, Peter. You're saying that sim racers have got many girlfriends? I know from bitter experience, as soon as you say that you're involved in sim racing, suddenly the conversation stops. But anyway...
But you see, if you're wearing 3M, that backs it straight back over the net, doesn't it, Paul?
Let's concentrate on this battle right now. Oh, Peter. It is Adam Watson, Mike Horder and Philip Koenig, who's trying to do a recovery drive after being in the wall at the cutting. He's trying to work his way up. I think he's not quite getting the amount of places and the amount of time that I think he would imagine that he would expect to get, especially when he qualified so far up the grid at the start of the race.
Yeah, it's a pity, but that is racing at Bathurst for you as well. But with 51 minutes to go, we're just gone halfway. Yeah, just about. We've just gone past halfway, so plenty of time to go. And of course, most of the time, I would think for most of the drivers, will be running the whole of this race on one set of tyres. Now, when you get towards the end of the race, they are past their best, and here at Bathurst, they do get put through the ringer a bit, especially when track temperature gets up. So you never know how the race will come to you.
Well, down the mountain they go.
Huge moment there for Adam Watson. Well, we said he looked stressed on the camera. That was a big moment there. Nearly lost it into the bridge, coming into the wall. Coming onto the Conrod straight, and there you go. The poor little Porsche has not got the poke at the moment.
I think that Porsche is very much sort of set up for stability. I mean, you look at how good it is on the brakes, and there you go, right behind. There's the move from Philip Koenig, not quite able to make the move there, but the German simracing.de driver making his debut into the series, replacing Leandro Anderuti. And it's a shame it didn't work out for Leandro. He certainly had the pace, didn't he, in this championship, but he's getting involved in one or two little incidents, unfortunately. But the team, they've swapped him out for Philip, and he's certainly acclimatised himself.
I'll miss his headwear, his Kevin and Perry hat. I like that, the Oasis spec hat.
as we go up the mountain straight. Then no move being made there for the time being. So basically it'll just be as they were. That Audi in the background then, just back end kicking out, and that's in fact Marvin Lesmorman, teammate of Philip Koenig, and well, around he goes, does Lesmorman. Hopefully. Oh, can everybody stay out the way? Oh, Nick Solaputis getting close. And this is the only problem with GT cars here. They've got the turning circle of an oil tanker.
Or a Renault Clio V6. They're a terrible turning circle. I can actually say the Renault Clio 200 has a terrible circle as well, but Marvin Lesmorland did a good job there.
I was about to say, Ross
one.
McFarlane's been dropping down the timing sheet, and he's just recovering, and that's down at the dipper. I have a funny feeling he's going to be the latest victim of the Lamborghini spin through the dipper here. I'm sure we'll get another look at that in a moment, but yeah, he was running in 6th place. He's dropped down to 10th now as Ross, so an uncharacteristic mistake. Oh, it's already going before the dipper. Oh, and that's a heavy hit.
Well, that is... If you were collecting racing driver stickers like football stickers, that would be a very rare one. A Ross McFarlane mistake. It's a once a season, if at all. Really rare to see Ross make an error, and yeah, just shows you how that Lamborghini can get away from you. It does have a lot of good attributes, but yes, it does. That is how difficult that part of the circuit is. So that's a big turn up then for defending champion Ross McFarlane, and sitting a very close third in the championship as well. And not great timing either, Paul, because we're not really in the window for the second pit stop, so he's going to have to nurse that car with whatever damage he's got for the next sort of 7 or 8 minutes, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. That's you're right on it there. And the thing is, Ross, he looking at his pit stop with a 30-second pit stop, so he didn't quite completely brim the tank, but he certainly put a lot of fuel in. So he's got a heavy car there. The last thing that he'll want is to have to come in on about 40 minutes and then just brim the tank to get him to the end. That's the last thing he wants.
It is, yeah. You want to run with a heavy car for as little amount of time as possible, but Josh Thompson is absolutely on it at the moment. He came out of pit lane behind Luke McEwen, and he's burned him off. He's put a couple of car lengths into him. He's caught him, passed him, and started to put a bit of time in as well. So the young man's been driving beautifully in the wheel of this BMW. He really... I'm sure he'll shrug it off, I'm sure, Paul, but goodness me, he wants this World GT Championship.
And he's got a very, very well coiffured haircut, that's for sure. He's been looking after that one for sure. Look at your track conditions and clear blue skies. The track temperature actually started off at around 26, 27 degrees, so we're already up to 33 degrees. And when you're completing the race on one set of tyres, towards the end, as the track keeps on heating up, that's certainly going to be a bit of a challenge. We're on the 15th of November for the date as well, so that means we're right in the height of summer in Australia. Josh Thompson sideways almost into the cutting there.
And look at that, straight away Luke McEwen's on him, so any distance that was put into Luke McEwen, one tiny error and bam, he's right on the back of that big huge rear wing on the back of that BMW M4 GT3. And Josh Thompson car moving around a lot. He is pushing, he's right on the ragged edge of the grip as they come over the skyline, and Luke McEwen just keeping it under pressure. And Luke McEwen's car looks nice, neat, tidy. Josh Thompson, that looks like a wild animal over the mountain.
Yeah, I think
he's maybe running it quite... sorry, Paul. I think he's maybe running it in quite a low downforce trim, I suspect, because he's got good straight line pace, but it looks a handful over there.
I mean, you saw the line that he took through the S's, through Skyline, down the S's into the dipper, and he was really struggling. But look at that slipstream. That Logitech GLTC sports car getting right up. Oh, big switch into the chase there from Luke McEwen. I mean, great reactions to reveal that and have it happen. But look at that, he's able to take those curbs. They're going to go past the boosted car. I believe that was Simon Field that they were lapping there. And back up underway, out of Murray's corner for the last time. It's just tremendous to see. Oh, look at him. He's trying to get in the mind of Josh Thompson, isn't he?
Absolutely, yes. I think that is exactly what Luke McEwen is doing here. And yeah, look at that. Josh Thompson very kindly shared his video feed with us as well. He's looking up and down at his mirror, just seeing what's going on. He's talking to wait. He is quite vocal with the spotter, is Josh. So he's always wanting to know, where is he? What's the time? Where are we? Where am I fast? Where am I not? So, I mean, I do think that BMW, he's set the car up to be very good in a straight line. And he just thinks, you know what, I'll just have to put up with it over the mountain, because it's actually a pretty good strategy, in fact, as long as you can handle it, because, and if anyone can, Josh can, because really you can't make a pass on the mountain anyway, so you might as well set the car up for those long drag strips.
Ross McFarlane and Rhys Saunders both onto pit road for their second pit stop, so they're feeling that they can go to the end here. I think they should be able to do it. And yeah, so they're onto pit road right now for their second pit stops. Josh Thompson then down through the dipper there. The weird feeling when you're going through the dipper is that you're turning in as if you're pointing the car at the wall, and then because the track just drops away, it pushes your car wide. You just nicely get, not quite clip that wall, but you get that apex absolutely spot on. It's the strangest feeling to point your car at a wall.
I always think it's kind of like you trip from the very top step of your stairs at home, and you sort of have a sort of controlled fall all the way down, but you remain sort of on your feet, and then you stick the landing. That's going down the dipper, if you can imagine it in those terms.
No, you see, the problem is if I trip on my stairs at home, I'm very much in a crumpled heap at the bottom of the stairs by the end of that trip.
I'm sure your ninja ways, your ITV4 ninja ways, you can stick that landing.
Adam Hedgecock, Simon Field there onto pit road now, so we're very much into that second pit stop phase then. And we'll slowly see cars coming onto pit road as we go on through the final part of this race. So things as they stand at the moment, Jack Sedgwick leading this race ahead of Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen. Now that gap has stayed pretty much static at around 9 seconds between the three of those drivers there. Your top Pro-Am, that's Mark Hutchinson in 8th place for Evo SR. And he's a few places ahead of Mike Horder, who's in 11th place, and Paul Webster, 13th, is the 3rd place Pro-Am driver. Your top AM is Andy Archer in 20th place. The next AM actually is down to James Whitehouse in 25th place for Century Sim Racing. Meanwhile, we have got a battle going on, and that is Chris Wood battling away with Ashley Finch. And that's Ashley making his way past. That's a Pro and a Pro-Am, and they've swapped positions there through the chase. I did want to actually touch on Century Sim Racing, because of course they're not just a sim racing team, the Century Sim Racing. They actually have a venue over in Warrington. Depending which part of Warrington you're either in Lancashire or Cheshire. People from Warrington like to say they're from Cheshire, but only half of them are. Yeah, Century Sim Racing, they are out there in Warrington, and Adam Watson was actually there over the weekend from the Team Mad team out there, so enjoying the setup there. So do check them out online. You can just search them, Century Sim Racing, in your favourite search bar. Other search engines are available, and yeah, go and check them out and enjoy yourselves at Century Sim Racing.
Is it linked to Century Motorsport, who run BMW GT4 cars in outdoor?
Now that I do not know. I'll be honest with you, you've reached the end of my knowledge right there, Peter.
Because there's a Century Motorsport who run in British GT, and they ran at the Dubai 24 Hours as well. In fact, Rory Butcher was due to drive for them I think 2 years ago in the Dubai 24, and he was in the air on board the plane and got turned around halfway because there was some unrest in some of the countries that underneath the route, so they had to turn around, and that was that, and he missed it. But that was the year it got cancelled after 8 hours because it flooded in Dubai.
Oh yes, I remember watching that Dubai 24 hours actually. That was a strange race, was that one, especially when the pit lane was under about a foot of water. Yeah, that was bizarre. That was
January 2020. We should have known that stranger things were afoot. Now, just a point on the leading trio. Now, it may look that Jack Sedgwick is running away with this to the naked eye. However, there is a bit of additional context to consider. Both Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen have taken effectively their longer pit stop. They were both in for 29.4 for Thompson and 29.7 for McEwen, whereas Sedgwick was 22.5 seconds, so about 7 seconds of a gap, a delta, if you like, between the time spent in the pits between Sedgwick and the pair of Thompson and McEwen. So that will come back. Now, at the moment, the gap is about 8 seconds. So I hope I wouldn't be stoking too much excitement with when these three cars come out of pit lane after their second and final pit stops. I would think that they'll be well and within each other's sight.
If we get a finish like we had at Silverstone, then I will be very, very happy about that, because that was an epic race, wasn't it? And Daytona, yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, we've had some epic finishes in this season of the World GT Championship so far, and we could be on for another one of those evenings. Now, McEwen, he must be happy to be sat behind Josh Thompson, because he's saving himself fuel, and even if he pits at the same time as Josh Thompson, he's going to be putting in less fuel into that car, isn't he? Because he's not having to take on board as much as Josh, because he's been sat in that slipstream. And this is very, very good strategy work from Luke.
It could be, and of course, we did see Josh Thompson run Luke McEwen down quite quickly and pass him quite quickly. So it could be that McEwen is being very disciplined in running to a very specific fuel number and knowing he's got this race absolutely mapped out to the very last meter and to the very last litre in the fuel stops as well. Whereas Thompson's going for the full attack, and both can work. That's the thing, is we do not know what is the right approach to this, and what a wonderful thing that we've got three leading cars at the moment. They're all taking a slightly different approach to the way they do things. Just look at the grunt of that BMW. That BMW is a missile down the Conrod Straight. However, as we think, I'm pretty convinced, Paul, that is, not only has it got good engine power, but Josh is running it very, very lean in terms of the the aerodynamic drag. He's turned it into a real low drag special and having to put up with a raging bull over the mountain.
Certainly is, and he's got a raging bull right behind him as well, hasn't he? With that Lamborghini. So across the line they go again. 36 minutes remain in this round number 4 of the World GT Championship, brought to you by Coach Dave Academy and 3M. Your commentators here, Paul Smith and Peter Mackay, with Hugo Luis behind the scenes on production. And there's a change of position. Philip Koenig then moving himself up into 8th place. Not a bad recovery drive, considering that he was facing the wrong way and in the wall at the cutting after there was definitely contact between himself and Luke McEwen. It's how the stewards see that is what we'll have to wait and see, and we'll have to wait until next week to find out, unfortunately. But Philip Koenig, first round of the championship for him. I mean, he's not having a bad race, considering that he's new to the championship and doesn't know how these other drivers drive. Yeah,
and I mean, you couldn't ask for a more difficult baptism to the World GT Championship than an endurance race at Bathurst. So, yeah, Philip, I think he's on balance. I think he's acquitting himself well. He'll be disappointed with this mistake, but he's we've seen Ross McFarlane, a driver who makes very, very few mistakes ever, and he's had his downfalls as well. So it's this sort of circuit, it really does put the drivers to the ultimate test. I just thought of course we've got the the raging bull of Luke McEwen in the Lamborghini chasing down the BMW. So it's the raging bull chasing down the Munich white sausage.
Now, have you had your white sausage yet? Because we've not actually said you're not back at home, have you?
No, I'm in Stuttgart at the moment, but it's no, that's I'm in. I don't think that's part of Swabian. I think it's very much a Bavarian thing. So yeah, if you were going to visit BMW, it would be white sausage on a Sunday morning with the special mustard and a pretzel and a Weiss beer. That's the breakfast of champions. It's delicious.
You've got to have it in the morning. You cannot have
before 12.
White sausage. Yeah,
absolutely.
You have to have it before 12 noon.
You're a man of culture, Paul. You really.
And you have to split the skin of the sausage as well. And
that is the way. That is the way to do it. You've been initiated.
I've been taught by the CEO of Fanatec how to eat that white sausage. So yeah, that's very much. I'm sure somebody's going to clip this now and take this completely out of context. But there we go. Ashley Finch on track. Oh, we're having fun today, Peter, aren't we? Ashley Finch, 22nd right now. He's got Alex Naylor, Chris Wood behind him. We have had some more pit stops happen here as well in this. So we're very much now in the depths of that second pit stop phase. Oh, the boosted car just straight off.
Goodness me! Now that was the Pure Sim SimLab Lamborghini.
Who was that? I think that was Jesse Wilkins. No, not because Jesse Wilkins on pit road. I don't know who
Number
that
60.
was. It's Toby Ward.
Oh, Toby. So he's got nerfed by Ashley Finch. So there you go. Ashley Finch misses his braking point clearly because he can't get it stopped for the chase, and poor old Toby Ward was just the wrong place at the wrong time, and well, he got mosterted there. So Toby Ward was the Cam Waters in that scenario.
Here we go then. Back to this battle. Well, I'll say it's a battle, but it's not. But crucially now, you look at our timing tower there, it's right on 8 seconds gap between your leader, Jack Sedgwick, and Josh Thompson, with Luke McEwen right behind. And those two have been on such a pace. I mean, they did go a little bit slower last lap. They were a tenth of a second slower than Jack Sedgwick last lap. So they have been keeping the times up. I've got a yellow flag up on my track map at the S's. So somebody's had an issue elsewhere. So yeah, there is. I can tell you that there is a car stopped actually on road, and I believe it's Adam Hedgecock who's he's got going again. So yeah, fortunately I've got a track map which actually tells me when there's yellow flags out on track. It's really, really helpful for me on these commentaries. When we've got so many cars, we started this race with 48 cars. Unfortunately, we've only got 39 running right now, but this is very much like the iRacing Bathurst 12 hours. And
synchronized. Oh, they come back for a kiss.
So that's Les Mollman and Hedgecock. So Hedgecock was busy trying to get out the way, and Les Mollman's just carried way too much speed over the skyline and lost it himself completely on his own.
Goodness, they both had their own accidents and then came back to join up and square the circle. Wow. Goodness. Well, I don't think, just judging by the time of where our second and third place runners, Josh Thompson and Luke McEwen, were, about 8 seconds up the road, that was about where Jack Sedgwick was. So I think Sedgwick might have avoided that incident by a bit of a whisker. So potentially a little scare for our race leader. Luke McEwen has now taken the fastest lap of the race away from Sedgwick, who is in pit lane. So Sedgwick has come down pit road. This will be his longer stop, whereas Thompson and McEwen have quite a bit more fuel on board. How much further will they go? Well, that might well depend on traffic.
Yeah, you're looking at about, 22, 23 laps potentially for Thompson and McEwen for them on their stint. They're currently on their 17th lap of their stint right now. David Baker is onto pit road as well. So we've got some of the drivers further up now having their second pit stops. Adam Volkovich onto pit road, and that's Josh Thompson. That's Josh Thompson at Quarry, and he's got damage. Has he got damage to his rear wing?
Yeah, he does. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, just slightly. And here we go to the inside. McEwen. Oh, that's the second car that McEwen has got into bother with.
It's a bizarre one, that, Paul, because Luke's been looking so kind of calm behind Josh Thompson. Josh been having to do all the work, having to work his tyres harder, having to really hang on by his fingernails over the mountain, and then just a kind of half-baked move there, and that's Luke McEwen is racking
angry.
up a
Oh, that face, that is pure rage. That is just absolute rage and fury right now.
I don't blame Josh Thompson there as well. He was doing all the heavy lifting there, and yeah, that was a real late clip there as well. Nothing Josh could have done, and he's fighting for the championship. But Luke McEwen, I hate to say it, he is building up quite a record of incidents like this.
Well, again, it's post-race stewards. Does Josh... No, he's not diving onto pit road, so the car mustn't be that bad then. But he is driving angry now, and that's a problem. If you drive angry, you make more mistakes, don't you?
Yeah, I think I totally agree, Paul. I think, look, Josh is the World Championship level driver, not me, but I'm the commentator sitting on my backside here. But if that were me, I would just say, come in. If I were the spotter, say like, okay, and it's unfortunate, come into pit road, get your fast repair. You've got a bit of damage on the wing, which is not going to help. Come in, cool the tyres off a bit, cool yourself off a bit. Take a splash and just go for it, and then go and do qualifying lap. Once you're out of pit lane, go and do qualifying laps for 25 minutes and chase them down and show them what you're made of. Would be what I would say. But yeah, you can totally understand that Josh will be upset about that, because these guys are racing at the very front of the field at such a frantic pace, and for that to happen, that really does sting.
Certainly does. And he'll be carrying on with McEwen. Oh, he didn't want to compromise with that lap traffic, did he? He wanted every piece of the road that he could take as he went past. I believe that was Lee Berridge. Here's another look down from above. Josh is turning in. There's no overlap there. I mean, it's...
You've got to turn into the corner at some point. And then if you're the following car, it's up to you not to clip the car from the... And it just clipped him at the tail as well, which means you're not anywhere near to making a pass anyway, so why put yourself in the risk? Or why put the other car at risk?
And it's a similar instance to what happened with Philip Koenig, isn't it?
Correct, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think now, forgive me, did we not see the same thing at Silverstone with Andy Rutti?
Yes.
As well?
Yes, we did.
So there's definitely there's a pattern for it. I mean, well, look, we've said it a lot. Luke, his pace, he's arguably the fastest driver in the championship. In raw pace, he's just blistering when he puts it together. But just getting in a couple of just silly incidents here and there, I think the stewards have got to, I'm sure they will, look across not just at that incident, but the pattern that's kind of emerged throughout the season.
I think Thompson's losing a little bit of time as well with that damage. It was 2:04.1. Yeah, you would think, come in, get that repaired, and get out there and just put in the laps of your life around here for Josh. One person that'll be happy with that, of course, is Jack Sedgwick, who's had his final pit stop, and he'll be delighted with that.
Well, that could have potentially. I mean, I don't think it really lost Luke McEwen much time whatsoever. I mean, he just kind of carried on. It might have lost him a second or maybe two at the most, but yes, that margin, that tiny incident, could have been the difference between Jack Sedgwick, winning or losing this race. Drama here at Bathurst. I mean, it wouldn't be Bathurst if we didn't have a bit of drama. My goodness. The only thing that might have happened, again, we're speculating a lot here, but the only thing is that occasionally we see drivers use their fast repair by accident, where they forget to uncheck it. the only thing I'm maybe slightly worried for Josh Thompson is he might have used it by accident at the first stop. Let's hope not, because that would be a pity for him.
Yeah, it would. Let's have a look then at this. Lockie Brown and Philip Koenig, they're battling away. It's BMW versus Audi up over the top of the mountain. That Audi looks a lot more nimble, doesn't it, over the top of the mountain? But Lockie certainly, as you keep on mentioning, knows his way around this track, although getting on the grass on the exit at McPhillamy Park is not the ideal line. Fortunately for him, though, that BMW seems a very sturdy and stable car.
It is, and yeah, Lockie's driving very, very well, and yeah, you could just tell he's at home here. He's just so comfortable around this circuit. He's done so many miles here. I remember watching him in a warm-up for the Bathurst 1000. I think it was at Bathurst 250, I think it was, and it was just imperious. Started from the pit lane and just blew everybody away. It was quite extraordinary, but there you go. It's nothing he could really do there as well to keep Philip Koenig behind. Philip set that move up perfectly. That's a really nice textbook manoeuvre there from the driver of the 45 Audi.
Yeah, the German simracing.de car by ACB. Up a position then, up to 5th place, but of course they do owe us a pit stop. Your top 10 owes a final pit stop. No, sorry, apart from Jack Sedgwick, your top 10 owes a final pit stop here in this race, because Jack Sedgwick, he was that far ahead of people. He came out and he's currently in 4th place after having his 2nd pit stop. So looking at your lap times, Josh Thompson's times actually is only 3/10 slower on that last lap than Luke. Jack Sedgwick did a 2:03.5. Now, one thing that will be helping Luke McEwen at the front in his battle against Jack Sedgwick is that Sedgwick has got that heavier car right now, so he's not able to lap quite as fast. Even a 10th or 2 here and there all counts towards that final stop and getting out on track in front of them. There's Sedgwick. You see again, it's incredible, and this is what makes these World Championship drivers just that level above everybody else, the level of consistency, just lap after lap, that same line repeatedly throughout this race. It's incredible to watch.
And yeah, and it's that precision, isn't it, as well? I think that's what gave Jack the victory where he at Belle Isle last season. You know, at Detroit, a very narrow street circuit where he did not make any mistakes whatsoever. He was just flawless, and he had a pace advantage to put on top of that. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's when he actually debuted this Evo version of the Ferrari GT3, and he's kind of run it ever since. And I think I like it with Jack is as well. He'll take a gamble on a different car, you know, from everybody else. Sometimes you'll see 2, maybe maximum 3 manufacturers as being the preferred, as Josh Thompson comes for his stop. But Jack, I mean, in World Touring Car Series, he runs the Honda, whereas most of the leading guys are who he's competing with are in Hyundais.
Well, there you go. There's the pit stop. Don't see that rear wing getting a repair, so you might be right. He might have accidentally used that fast repair. Sedgwick is ahead then, and he's just sat there as Thompson. Away he goes.
No repair.
Yeah. So I think he did accidentally use it. And he comes out right there with Philip Koenig and Lockie Brown.
Okay. Well, and the thing is, with that rear wing damage, that's going to put him at a real deficit it's double trouble for poor old Josh Thompson as well, because if that rear wing damage is going to kill his top line speed, and that is how he set the car up to be good in that area. And then of course it's still an animal over the mountain, so poor old Josh Thompson's this is a case of damage limitation for him. Get the car to the finish. There was nothing he could have done about that incident. You know, he left room and he was clipped, and you just got to try and gather as many points as he can and hope that things work out for him in the week in the stewards room, to be honest.
The great Jackie Stewart, 3-time Formula 1 world champion, he used to always say, take emotion out of your driving. Don't let emotion take over. Keep calm and cool and collected. Things may happen you don't agree with, but don't let the emotion take over your driving. And I think Josh, he's still He's still upset. You can tell he's still upset by his body language, but he is calmed down. And that is Mark Hutchinson. That is your Pro-Am leader, or should I say, was your Pro-Am leader, because Chris van der Ness has gone through. That is down at Forest Elbow.
Oh dear, poor old Chris van der Ness, and it's huge damage as well, so he'll be
Mark
hoping...
Hutchinson.
Sorry, my apologies, Chris van der Ness. Mark Hutchinson is, of course, he will be hoping that he's got that fast repair left in his pocket, so van der Ness's teammate... Oh, Adam Watson.
Yeah, that's on that Team Mad car, Adam Watson, I'm afraid, just from first look. And you always say front to rear contact is generally the fault of the car at the rear.
Oh yes, absolutely. And we've seen it when we've been looking at kind of racing in close quarters with Adam Watson's Porsche. He's been so good on the brakes. That's the one aspect where the Porsche is just streets ahead of every other car in the class at the moment. It is under braking. Has its weaknesses in other areas, particularly at top end, but you can definitely get on the brakes much later than everybody else, and maybe that just caught him out a little bit there. It really does bunch up into that final corner of the mountain section at the elbow. So, and that of course gives the teammate of Mark Hutchison a real leg up there, Chris van der Ness, and leading by a comfortable margin in Pro-Am. So this is the rude wake-up call. Still smiling though.
Yeah, that's a unique helmet, shall we say?
Yes, I like it.
Yeah,
it's like the Kool-Aid guy.
Yeah, the problem the problem there though is that Mark didn't go crashing through the wall; he went and crashed into it instead. But your leader, Luke McEwen, onto pit road. You can see on our timing tower on the top left-hand side of your screen. So, where does Sedgwick pan out in all of this? Where does it all work out for Jack? Well, here we go. We'll find out. There's McEwen then on the main screen. Jack Sedgwick, and he had to get some repairs done to his car as well. That's interesting to see, actually, having to get repairs done there.
Well, that was certainly on the front. That was and
that was the opposite side.
Opposite side, yes. So he's maybe rubbed the wall somewhere. Is Luke McEwen? So out he comes, and he's jumped Sedgwick.
Yeah,
there's Sedgwick right behind him, and straight away Luke McEwen straight on the flasher to the Porsche up ahead of him that's got damage. It's one of the Simmortal cars. So we'll be saying, "Come on, move! I've got to go. I've got Sedgwick right behind me in the Ferrari." Can't quite pick a car number on that.
I think that's Chris Wood, and Wood gets out the way there, and the 67 moves out the way, and that allows Luke McEwen to go past. But unfortunately for Jack Sedgwick, he now finds that Simmortal Porsche right in front of him. That lime green coloured car with that fluorescent-y sort of Aston Martin throwback with that colour. Yeah, Sedgwick, it's just incredible to watch. Absolutely fantastic. Here we go. Over to the left goes Chris.
Well done. That's not easy. That is honestly, that is your worst nightmare. Oh my word, he is pushing. That is. I don't think we can straight. I mean, it looks. If you're watching this on stream and you're looking at the driver as a lap down there, you think, "Oh, just get out of the way, go on." Honestly, it is, unless you've been there. Honestly, it is just a nightmare when you've got the fastest guys going up behind you. You know they're battling for the win. You're trying to get out of the way, but there is just no room to do it there. And Chris did that very well. He was predictable. He was safe. He held the cars up for the absolute minimum amount possible. Top marks there. Top marks.
And of course, when you're going over the top of the mountain as well, if you back out of it, if you go a little bit slower, you actually end up making a mistake and end up in a wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you lift off the throttle that little bit, the car will jerk round and whoosh round you go, and then you're a much greater hazard. So yeah, marks there to Chris Wood. That takes real composure in that situation. Now, 15 minutes to go. Well, we mentioned qualifying laps. This is going to be qualifying laps. Sedgwick versus McEwen. It's, we've had Sedgwick versus Thompson. We've had McEwen versus Thompson. We've had McEwen versus Anderuti, but Sedgwick versus McEwen, another tantalising prospect here as well. And McEwen's got more traffic, but I think he might dispose with it at the perfect point yet again, Paul.
Yeah, he seems to catch that traffic on the mountain straight at the right time, and it pans out for him, doesn't it? And that just allows him to get ahead. And look at how close Cedric is getting to that wall. I mean, you said a pencil shaving. Well, I would say a cigarette paper's width on there as well. It's absolutely just millimetre perfect from Jack Sedgwick.
Budget toilet roll. Budget toilet roll width. Not Cashel, that is not. Yes, that single ply toilet paper that you used at primary school that they said, oh, if you need to do some tracing, just get some of that. But anyway, as we go on through, Josh Thompson. Oh, Josh! He is pushing hard. He ran too hard. Big mistake, and he keeps it out the wall. That's incredible. Well, I wonder if there might be a few telltale skiffs and scrapes on the side of that BMW M4. Josh Thompson is throwing everything at this, but he's got to be smart here, because yes, you know, he's looking at the, you know, he's 12 seconds down the road from Luke McEwen, he's 10 seconds down the road from Jack Sedgwick. That's going to be, let's be honest, that's going to be too much to catch up over 13 minutes unless something goes wrong ahead. And of course fighting that straight line deficit as well with the damage that he's got. But the thing is, the amount of points you get go for position, not time. That's the thing that a lot of drivers have to remember in certain situations. Going, okay, fourth is far from ideal, but it's you know, it's only a couple of spots behind. So your point loss is only small, but you just have to keep that in mind, I always think.
And especially when Philip Koenig and Lockie Brown both go onto pit road, so exactly. he's not got to worry about people challenging him for position now. He's got a third place in the bag right now, but he's got to keep it on the grey stuff, which is easier said than done around here. As well, we were about to have a battle, but then Pete Harrod went and inconvenient. They went and put his car on the pit road, so Dave Baker doesn't need to worry about his former Pure Sims teammate. Goes across the line.
7 laps to go. So yeah, if you're Josh Thompson, if you're Josh Thompson's spotter, you get on the radio and you say, look, come on, third place. Bring it home, and you just never know what will happen between McEwen and Sedgwick. If they get together, well, who knows? But if you're Josh Thompson and the team, you get on the radio and say, you know, just come back to fight another day. Just bank that one away, keep that one in your pocket for the rest of the season. Josh Thompson's still in this championship.
So there's only a couple of drivers left to actually owe us a pit stop. Chris van der Ness, who's currently in 5th place, owes us one more pit stop, as does Ashley Finch down in 18th right now. Brendan Stacey's just the latest driver onto pit road to serve their second mandated pit stop. 2 mandatory pit stops in this race right now, and these drivers certainly have been pushing to the limit all the way through this race. Ashley Finch, in fact, comes down onto pit road right now. So just Chris van der Ness, the final driver, to come onto pit road before we can give you a little bit of a mini rundown as to where people are out there on track. But I hope you've been enjoying this race as much as myself and Peter have, because this has been a really intriguing race. It's been a race of attrition as well. 48 cars started, only 39 left. Going around the circuit for this race. So yeah, it's certainly been an intriguing race, and strategy has been to play, and Sedgwick gained just a little slight bit, about 0.2 of a second on the last lap. At this rate, it's not enough.
No, you're right, it's not. He needs to up that. About 6 laps to go here. Well, so yeah, he needs 3 to 4 tenths a lap every lap, and to get that over someone of Luke McEwen's caliber, well, that's very, very tricky to do. The only caveat to that is if you hit a bunch of traffic in the wrong way. For example, if Luke McEwen comes across a bunch of traffic on the run up to the cutting, Jack Sedgwick will be on him by the time they reach Skyline.
Certainly would. He'd be pushing hard, and this is it. Sedgwick and McEwen, they will be going hell for leather on this one, pushing those cars to the ragged edge of adhesion here. in this race. We're into that final 10 minutes then, and of this motor race. It has certainly been a pleasure to bring it to you all here on RaceSpotTV. This is the World GT Championship, brought to you by 3M and by Coach Dave Academy. And certainly we have had a really, really good race. It's only one close battle on track at the moment, really, and that's Lockie Brown and David Baker. Those two are together right now, and here we are on board with Dr. David Baker himself. Down through the dip, you see just how that track just drops away. A little mistake from Dave there on the exit of the dip, and that just lost him a tenth or two.
Yeah, and you go, but Lockie Brown, there's a little clip to the wall there on the exit, and just heading onto the Conrod straight. That might grab his attention as well. Has that done any damage? It was right on the wheel area, the rear right wheel, so a little scare there for Lockie Brown and his Indy Autosport BMW. And McEwen, well, he's now answering back. That gap up to about 2.4 seconds now as well, so McEwen really dropping the hammer now, and he's played this strategically. Okay, but incidents aside, strategically he's played this absolutely perfectly.
To answer our director's question, yes, David Baker is a doctor. He's a doctor of astrophysics. And so I should note he's a former teammate of mine, so yeah, David had to put up with me as a teammate. I think he's thankful that I no longer race in the same team as him, to be honest, as Van der Nest finally pits from 5th place, the Pro-Am driver. Now, will he come out ahead of Mike Horder? That's going to be the question here, and I believe that Van der Nest does get the jump on Mike Horder in your Pro-Am category. So, let's give you a little bit of a rundown of how things go right now. Luke McEwen is the leader of this race. 2.4 seconds is the gap. Oh, car alongside David Baker pushing to the limit here. Lockie Brown having to use the grunt of that BMW to pull away. Jack Sedgwick 2nd place ahead of Josh Thompson in 3rd. Your top Pro-Am then, it is Chris Van der Nest then. He's only 3 seconds ahead of Mike Horder, who's the 2nd place Pro-Am. And that's 11th and 12th place. A couple of places behind them, Mark Hutchinson. So even after that hit into the wall at the Forest Elbow, he's actually still in 3rd place in Pro-Am, so he's actually still on for a decent haul of points. Your top Am driver, it is still Andy Archer. We've not really talked about Andy, but he has kept in 1st place in Am all race long. He's done certainly a good job, with James Whitehouse 2nd place in Am in 22nd place, and Lee Berridge, your Am Championship leader, 3rd place in Am in 26th. One of a few drivers that have actually currently in the place that they started in here, Peter.
That is quite something, isn't it? Yeah, well, I have to say big marks to Andy Archer for holding on to that Am class lead throughout the race. Just 6 minutes to go for him to get that class victory, and honestly, to do that consistently around here, to get the lead early and hang on to it, that's quite a mental challenge. You've got to silence a lot of conversations with yourself in that scenario.
Yeah, being in the lead is really no fun. You start getting in your own head, especially if you're oh, we've got a yellow flag out there, and I believe it's Mark Woodhouse who's facing the wrong way, and that's up at Sulman Park. Yep, there it is, and he's decided, rather than trying to do a 17-point turn, just takes the tow back to the pits. That's unfortunate for Mark, but Team Mad and also the Immortal team as well, not having the best of days out there.
No, it's not been their Sunday, but whoa, that's a fast one there for Mark Woodhouse in the 38 Team Mad machine. Yes, not the Sunday best for them, but they'll be back, make no mistake about that. I mean, I'm sure Adam Watson, okay, he's still intense right now. I'm sure he'll be feeling pretty rubbish at the moment after that incident with Mark Hutchison, after he was just getting into the back of him, and it had obviously pretty dramatic ramifications for Mark. And I'm sure Adam, although he's in the overall top 10, we know he's a real clean driver. I think he'll be gutted about that.
Certainly will, as the clock ticks down, and that gap at the lead has come to around 2 seconds again, so you can see how it just ebbs and flows as the different cars pass lap traffic. And certainly it's not close enough to really be a battle for the lead, unless of course somebody gets a fuel calculation wrong. Now this is David Baker getting a bit more pushy, and Lockie Brown going to the inside there. I just feel he's defending a little bit of fresh air there, because that's allowing David Baker to try and get the run out the corner, out of Hell Corner. You can sometimes get the cut back there and get the run up the mountain. Right now, Lockie Brown, again, just using the power of that BMW. Munich certainly have produced a very grunty car.
I think that's maybe why, like you say, it was a slightly pretty defensive and slightly unusual line, but Lockie, I think, yeah, that's very clever, using the characteristics of his particular car very well. I mean, right now on over a qualifying lap, the Lamborghini would probably show the BMW a clean pair of heels. Would certainly be a lot easier to drive over this mountain section, but it's about that track position and placing your car where it wants to be. It's interesting, the BMW at the moment, it's kind of like the Ducati of MotoGP, where keep it parked on the apex until you pick the thing up and fire it out the corner, and you maintain the position. I mean, we've seen a couple of the BMWs actually pulling away from cars that are in a very close slipstream, and that shows that you've not just got a little advantage on the straight, you've got a huge advantage. But what we've also seen is the rear of not only George Thompson's BMW, but Lockie Brown's as well. The rear of the BMW, you've really got to hang on by your fingertips over the mountain.
Now, I said that David Baker is noted for finishing in 6th place. He'll be absolutely desperate to get that 6th place. It seems to be a position that he finds himself in time and again. No matter what championship he runs in, it just always seems to pan out that way, does the race. And so David will be pushing and trying to get himself that position. Just having a look, nobody near getting a drive-through penalty at all around here, and I'm not surprised about that. You're given 24 incident points to around one of these endurance races here in the World GT Championship. Unsurprisingly, track limits aren't an issue, so therefore people aren't accumulating incident points.
Yes, if you've accumulated that many incident points, you'll have also accumulated an enormous damage bill here at Bathurst. That's the thing, is there's very few places to kind of have track limits abuse. Like we say, usually that abuse would be punished by an enormous accident. So yes, it's almost self-policing, the Bathurst circuit. Wow.
That was Sedgwick. I think he got into the side of Nick Salaputis. I can also tell you there's been an incident up over the top of the mountain, because Michael Evdoka, I can see on our timing screen, has had an issue out there. And I believe, looking at how suddenly Chris Wood has found himself in pit road, it must have been with Chris Wood. So there's been drama here, and this is towards the final minute. We've got one more lap remaining here in this race here in the World GT Championship. And McEwen, he got held up behind Salaputis. It gave Sedgwick that opportunity, and just there, he lost that opportunity right there.
Yeah, just a little mistake there from Sedgwick.
Don't like the brake check there.
No, we don't. No, that's not on. 100%, that's not on. You don't do that. That was, to me, Sedgwick's mistake. The thing is, Sedgwick would have known he was there, because McEwen would have been coming back to him really quick. McEwen would have been being held up big style. So yeah, a brake check on that not on.
Well, McEwen, it's been a controversial way to get to the lead of this motor race. He had contact with Philip Koenig in the early stages of this race up at the cutting. He then had contact with Josh Thompson down at Quarry Corner. He's found himself at the front, but I think he might find himself in the steward's office after this one. So on the track at the moment, he is the leader of this race. Of course, we're not the ones who actually decide any of those stewards' decisions. We're just commentating and giving our opinion on this. But right now, down the mountain, you can't take away his speed, though. You've got to admit that he has been so quick around this track, as Luke.
He's been so quick from the green flag at Daytona. I mean, it really has been, like I said, just that little edge on the whole field in terms of raw pace. And for that, it's almost a bit Ash Sutton-esque, isn't it? Just so much pace, and just once you just smooth off the rough edges, you're talking the complete package.
Well, here he comes then into the chase for the final time. He's got one more corner to go, which is Murray's Corner. Under the Armour All Bridge, plunge downhill. The finish line comes up very, very shortly. And Luke McEwen will cross the line first here in the World GT Championship round number 4 at Bathurst. Jack Sedgwick second place in the end by just under 3 seconds. Josh Thompson should come across the line in third place. Andy Archer has actually finished the race as your winning amateur driver in 19th place. So brilliant job from him. This is the last opportunity for David Baker into the chase. Lockie Brown going very, very defensive. Can Dave make that work around the outside? He's giving it a good go. A little bit of a rub between the two of them. Baker goes through. Now, will he hold on to that place? And Lockie Brown not happy with Dave. He gets on the flashing light button. So Baker comes across the line in 6th place. Lockie Brown in 7th. Chris Van Den Ness is your top Pro-Am driver. He's in 11th place right now, and he's going to be heading to the line momentarily. So great drive from Chris. He started this race. Well, he started it, what, in 6th place, didn't he? Did Chris. So yeah, really good result for the Pro-Am, and he'll come across the line. There he is, the Evo SR driver, the winner in Pro-Am. Final few drivers coming through to finish this race, but Peter, we've had drama and we've had controversy in this race. There's Andy Archer, our AM winner, coming around to finish his cool down lap. But yeah, drama and excitement all the way through this race.
Yeah, it certainly was all the way through the field, and what a prescription strength move from the doctor there to get his trademark 6th place. And I'm sure Lockie's probably more frustrated to lose out on that, but I didn't see anything wrong there, to be honest. I think that was just what happened, a side by side for a position at the chase. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But Bathurst, what a special place this is. It's just a very unique place to go motor racing. It is the way it is, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Brilliant.
Well, let's see if we can get you your unofficial race results then, after 1 hour and 45 minutes of action here in the World GT Championship. Luke McEwen, the first driver across the line then to finish there. 2nd place, Jack Sedgwick, the Was Cooking by 3M team, getting good points again though, finding themselves 2nd and 3rd. They could be on a good shout for the Pro Teams Championship lead. Michael Avdoka finishes in 4th place. Look at that, only 1.5 tenths ahead of Philip Koenig, the German SimRacing.de driver. David Baker, 6th place in the end there, ahead of Lockie Brown, with Adam Volkovich in 8th. Ross McFarlane, he'll be disappointed with 9th place in this race. And Adam Watson rounding out your top 10. 11th place is your top Pro-Am driver, the Evo SR driver of Chris Van Den Ness. Mike Horder for Boosted Virage in 2nd place, just 4 seconds behind him. Reece Saunders, and then Mark Hutchinson. He led Pro-Am for so long in this race, and just that contact down into Forest Elbow. But fortunately for him, he had a fast repair but then able to finish in 3rd place in Pro-Am. Pete Harrod, Paul Webster, Brendan Stacey and Alex Nella in X-View. And the 19th place for Century Sim Racing, Andy Archer, 1 lap down, gets the win for the AM Championship. Tim Perry ran at your top 20. Ashley Finch then in 21st. James Whitehouse, another Century Sim esports driver, in 2nd place in AM, 22nd overall, ahead of Christian Rose. Lee Berridge, your AM Championship leader, coming into this round of the championship in 3rd place in AM, 24th overall, with Craig Jones, Eric Haag, Ben Gregory, Simon Field, Jeroen Kaiser and Jack Belton, your top 30. And the drivers 2 laps down or more. Chris Wood, Robert Lundgren, Toby Ward, Matt Woodhouse, who we saw in the final couple of minutes of the race, have that issue at the top of the mountain. Nick Salaputis and Adam Hedgecock, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Jack Osborne, Martin de Jong, Marvin Lesmolman, all these drivers not finishing. Tony Draper, Lasman Ryan, Jonathan Walker, not the day for him to remember. Simon Nella, Michael Blake, Brian Kroon, Leon Penn, and then Bruno Canero after only 4 laps of this race. Luke McEwen, fastest lap of the race here. There we go then, Peter, your unofficial results there. Really good evening for a few of these drivers. And Luke McEwen, as I said, first across the line. We'll have to wait a week to find out whether he keeps that win.
Well, that's the thing, and I mean, on raw pace, it's just spectacular to watch his driving. I mean, it just has so much raw speed. But to be honest, to win this World GT Championship, we mentioned the depth of field that there is, the quality of the field. These rough edges are going to have to get smoothed off pretty quickly, because if you keep having incidents like that, it's going to be really difficult for him to win the championship, no matter what his speed is, because he'll be forever getting a punishment exercise from the stewards. So yeah, it's fascinating to watch this dynamic playing out as well. I mean, I think you got to give a lot of credit to Josh Thompson for cooling down and getting the car home in 3rd. That's not what he turns up to finish 3rd, but actually in the cold light of day tomorrow, I think he'll go, actually, this might come back to me. The justice may be served, it might not, but we'll see.
Well, we'll have a chat then. Peter, take it away with the man who finished 3rd in AM, and that is Lee Berridge. Peter, take it away.
Lee, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Bathurst in the baking heat. That's not an easy race. How is it for you?
Well, hello guys. Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but completely my own doing. I put it in the wall on lap 1. So just goes to show, if you knuckle down and just get on with it, you can get a good recovery drive.
Goodness. So, well, we're actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but we're watching this on screen right now. So lap 1, talk us through the incident. What happened?
Well, I can't see the screen, but yeah, essentially, I think just a bit of nerves. Lap 1, lots of cars around you, cold tyres, brake bias and all that. And yeah, I think it was just after the dipper. I run wide, and by the time I got on the brakes, I couldn't stop it and just bounced off the wall, bent the steering. And yeah, I think it put me at the back. And yeah, the rest of the drive was just a recovery drive. I was putting in some okay laps, not good to sort of stay in the top 10, but yeah, quick enough to sort of pull me back.
It's fascinating. And when did you have to come straight in for the fast repair, or did you wait it out until the first stop?
No, I had bent steering. I had to use up my fast repair on lap 1. So you can imagine, with an hour and 40-minute race ahead of you, how nerve-wracking that is. But do you know what? I'm going to take it, because I think it was only Andy Archer that's outscored me tonight. Well, apart from Whitehouse, but to be fair, he's a few places behind me. So still some good points. I think I finished 3rd in AM tonight.
I think so. Yes, I think so. I mean, and let's talk about that, Lee. Now it's coming up on screen. I hate to tell you. Yeah, that's quite a big thumb, wasn't it? Yes. Yeah. Yes, I can see that. Yes, definitely fast repair required for that one. Sorry about that.
Yeah, run out of time.
Now let's talk about good stuff, because you like you say, man on the moment in the AM class, fighting for the championship. It seems like you're up for this one this season.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I don't know if you remember, but I was winning it last season, and then, of course, with my work, I have to take some drop rounds, and I think I ended up losing. I think I missed the last race, or the second to last race, and I lost it last season towards the end, and it was such a shame because I was well up for it then. But I love the BMW. It's a bit of a boat sometimes, but tracks like this, and certainly round Interlagos last week, it was just on rails, and it's kind of rewarding me. I'm just hoping that the admins don't decide to make me a pro-am, because that'll undo all my hard work.
Oh, we don't want a Berridge bop. Hashtag no Berridge bop. We don't want that.
Yeah, if you can push that one, guys, that'd be great.
We'll get that. Win a pair of free gloves with hashtag no Berridge bop written on them. Lee, thanks so much for coming in to have a chat. Well done on a brilliant recovery drive. After that thump, you fought back well, and good luck for the rest of the season. Well done.
Yeah, cheers, guys, and top job by you guys. So thank you.
So I think we have time for just one more interview. Josh Thompson joins us now in the RaceSpotTV commentary box. Oh, Josh, that was a tense race for us watching on the screen. What was it like for you?
An absolute disaster. Yeah, I know. It's just one of those, really. The BMW was good here. Obviously, we're kind of unfortunate in qualifying with everyone crashing down the mountain. Just one of those things at Bathurst. You do run the risk of having that when you're in a train for tow, so kind of unfortunate. So that kind of scuffed the pole position lap, to be honest. I think I could have beaten Jack's lap, so fair play to him for putting on pole. But yeah, and then getting absolutely sent by a newbie in turn one was a bit of a interesting way. So obviously had to nurse damage the entire stint. That first leg of the race, I just had nothing. As you saw, the damage on the front, just no straight line speed. So yeah, it kind of put me on the back foot, and then it was just kind of unfortunate with the Luke thing. It's one of those. I don't know. I need to look back at it a bit further, but I think I was clear. But after that, just bring it home, take the points, because there's probably going to be a few protests.
Yeah, we've certainly been talking about that, how it could well be a different picture when we get to the next round. I mean, tell us a little bit, if you can, Josh, about car setup, because it looked like your car, I mean, the BMW is a quick car in a straight line anyway, but it looked like a real rocket in the straight line, but it also looked a proper handful over the mountain. I mean, that's how it looked on screen. Would that translate to what you felt behind the wheel?
Especially in that first stint, I had never driven a car so hard in my life to keep up or try and keep ahead. I had, because obviously with the damage in the first, and all I could do was gain the time down the mountain. In the entire race itself, I was actually better than Luke down the mountain, so I knew I had to extract as much as I could. And then in the first corner and then the final corner, for example, Luke could just pull 2 temps on traction, so I had to basically throw everything at the wall. It was one of those, you had to just hang on, really. I got used to it, and it was just how I drive the mountain, same as how I did last time I was here in the Ferrari, so it's pretty natural. It felt pretty normal, but there was a few laps where I did get it wrong nearly.
Well, you'll be pleased to know there's some spectacular footage on the broadcast. You'll get to watch that back and clip some of those, because the rear end looked like it was really properly dancing about. It was very entertaining to watch. Now, final thoughts. This championship battle between yourself, Ross, Luke, it's kind of swinging back and forth, like you say, with the race wins, penalties, etc. I mean, how are you feeling about this run for this championship at the moment?
I feel pretty decent. I think after tonight, even though I finished third, I'll still come out in the lead of a championship, because I think Luke will probably get a penalty. So I think that's kind of good. That's the least of the issues from this. I've come out. I wanted to win, obviously, because it'd be nice to extend the championship lead if that's the case, but take it on the chin. There's a few rounds where I am going to be on the back foot, so it's going to swing all the way to the final race. Lucky enough, the final round of the championship is the BMW King track of Red Bull Ring, so hopefully if it gets to that point, I can pull it off there. But at the moment, it's anyone's game still. There's so much time left.
You're right, there absolutely is. Well, we can't wait to watch it, and Josh, all the best for next week, and keep it up.
Thank you, guys.
There we go then. That was Josh Thompson. I mean, I can understand his feelings on that. That's for sure. Now, if we didn't have enough of walls close by around the circuit here this week with Bathurst, next week we head to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for 2 feature races, 2 40-minute feature races. So if we didn't have enough of concrete walls at the side of the track, we've got more next week.
Well, now that is, I mean, look at Lee Berridge would be a perfect example. You know, had a pretty huge thump to the wall.
Yeah.
On lap 1, and he was able to get a result because he had an hour and 45 minutes of continuous running, 2 pit stops, etc. 40-minute feature race, yes, you have a pit stop, but you've not got the time to make it up if you make that mistake earlier on, or if maybe someone puts you in, you're involved in an incident with somebody that you've not got the time to recover, and then if you get the wrong side of the spinny wheel draw for the grid, it can all unravel very quickly. So I'm kicking my lips with anticipation for next week's event.
And just final thoughts then, Peter. Today, it was a slow burner, wasn't it? This race, but my goodness, it had some drama in it as well.
Yeah, I think we had the bits of drama were sort of evenly peppered throughout the race, which was nice. It didn't all happen at once. It just, but yeah, like you say, it just the event. Luke McEwen, take the incident aside. Let's not talk about that for any more than we have done. He played clearly a very particular strategy. He had a playbook, and he took it to the absolute letter. Every millimeter, every litre of fuel in the tank, he played it exactly as he'd planned, executed that plan, and he came away with the win. And those things are all, you know, they're undisputable facts. The incident might put a blot on it, but what Luke McEwen did do right today was pretty spectacular.
Well, certainly it was spectacular to watch, and I hope you all enjoyed that here tonight. Of course, the World GT Championship is back next week then around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. But also, don't forget the World Touring Car Series Thursday night as well here on RaceSpotTV. Another championship from the World Sim Racing organisers. That one is going to be a lot of fun. Peter, I know you've been enjoying the touring car action, and it will certainly be a good one from Donington Park National. So make sure you join us on there for that one. Peter and Nolan Rempel on the call for that one. But a week's time, we're at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the World GT Championship. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us here on RaceSpotTV. Until then, bye-bye.